Welcome to Lawyers Who Learn, where we explore how attorneys' engagement in lifelong learning fuels their growth. Join us to uncover these journeys and gain insights for your legal career.
Hani, welcome to Lawyers Who Learn. I'm really excited to get started with what we're going to share with everybody today and how you learn. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So go ahead.
I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Cool. Awesome. So the reason I wanted to have you on, and I think it's really a great story, is how we met. And we met a couple of years ago, and it was really cool. And you reached out to me because you are, I think is a good term, and tell me if this is the correct way to phrase it. You're a Lawline power user. So can you tell me a little bit about, can you share with everybody a little bit about how you met? And again, this is Lawyers Who Learn. And I think what fascinates me about you is you are one of the best learners I have spoken to in a long time. And I wanted to share really sort of what you've taken from how you learned to Lawline and other parts of your career as a lawyer, as an estate lawyer. But let's start with how you discovered Lawline and what inspired you to become a power user.
Oh, well, thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. So for Lawline, I've been with Lawline for a long time. I think I heard you talk at New York Law School years ago, and I went to New York Law School. I know you did as well. And then afterwards, I started taking the CLEs from Lawline almost immediately. What's great about Lawline, you can learn at your own pace. And I know previously you said that you can't fast forward, but that's only if you haven't completed the CLE. The secret is if you've completed the CLE, I think you can move around more flexibly.
Well, and just to give you a power user hack that you may or may not know, you can actually, anyone now can fast forward at any time. They just have to. So if you try to fast forward without completing the course, it'll give you a pop-up and it will say, you can fast forward, but it will disable tracking and it will disable your ability to get credit. And if you ever want to get credit again, you just have to, refresh or come back and then it'll leave it to where you were. So just a power user hint. If you're not concerned about credit and you just want to get right to the point, you can. We also have the slides now on the left-hand side. So if you click on any slide that you haven't seen yet, it will ask you the same pop-up. Stay if you want credit, or if you want to see that right now, you can fast forward. Just maybe you learned something new today. So, yeah.
So when did that get rolled out? Recently?
A while ago.
Okay. All right. So what's great about Lawline, you can learn at your own pace. So I like, I heard another interviewer of yours on this podcast say they prefer in-person meetings. And I like in-person meetings. There's nothing wrong with them, but you can't fast forward or rewind or re-listen to something. So I have tips on how I used Lawline over the years and how that's changed. When I practiced law on my own, I had my own office. It was a shared office in Brooklyn. I took on all kinds of cases in the beginning, and anybody who walked in, if I felt like I could handle their case, I took it on. If I felt like I couldn't, I would bring on a lawyer who would be an expert in the area, very knowledgeable in the area, and I would take on the case. But how did I get the confidence to do that? I used to say, if Lawline has a course on it, then I'm going to get the confidence to take this on. So what did I do this with? I did this with everything. From business law, real estate, immigration, even criminal law. I never really got into personal injury because the lawyer I was working with got sick, and so that didn't pan out. But some of my favorite courses in Lawline, if I recall, were Bart Basie's courses.
First of all, I'm going to tell you the story behind Bart Basie, and just to give us some context, how many courses would you say you've completed on Lawline?
I think you told me recently it was over 100.
I think it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. But over the years, yeah. So, but even 100, that's minimum 100 hours
completed. Let's try. That's a problem.
How many have you started? That's a great question. Yeah.
Oh, started is even more, but completed. How many times completed? How many times have I listened to some courses? Some courses maybe 50 times. more. So completed is
It's so interesting. I love to hear. I love to hear. So there's two things. One, I want to tell you a story about Bar Pacey, and two, about what you're saying about watching it or listening to it 30 times. Um, when I have a book that I like, it's The Success Principles as an example, by Jack Canfield. I listened to it on Audible. I liked it so much. I read it. I've then listened to it again. I now read it again, and it's a constant one that I'm going to keep going back to. And so I really appreciate you saying that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm really excited about what's happening with AI right now. I don't know if you've tried Google Notebook yet.
I have.
I have messed around where I've taken a transcript from a Lawline course and I copied into their AI to see what happens. Within seconds, you can create a brief, you can create a summary, you can create a timeline, you can create an FAQ, you can create a study guide, and you can create a 2-person podcast describing that course. And I think
Notebook LM, is it, or ML?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
LM.
Okay.
And so in order to learn something really well, one time is probably not enough, and keep going through that. And Bar Pacey is a great person, and his son Roman.
Yes, Roman's also amazing.
A great people to do that with, because there's like one example what I've watched several times on that he taught with us is managing a corporate record books. Yes. Because it's something, one, for an attorney, it's a great way to get in for business, because every company doesn't. Most companies, small business, don't do that. And the way I met Bart, and you'll appreciate it for this conversation right now, he was a customer.
Okay.
And this is I don't know, a decade more, 12, 13 years ago, a long time ago. And at that time, it was after 5 or 6 o'clock. He is in Chicago. Everybody left the office. I was the only one left. The customer service, it was like 5:30 and it was 4:30 there. I answered it and I was talking to him, and I just really appreciated what he was saying. And I'm like, you have the best voice I've ever heard. Like, you sound amazing. And then he started telling me about, he does all these lectures. And from that conversation, from me answering a customer service call, he is, or is close to, the top 3 presenters ever on Lawline. And he is just so knowledgeable in tax, in business, in corporate stuff. And so is Roman.
The other power couple I love, and over the years, not just one or two, the It Quits podcasts.
Michelle, and I'm forgetting her husband's name right now. Yeah. And Jay It Quits. That's another great story. Like, they've, we used to have, obviously we don't have an office anymore since COVID, but we had a studio, and they used to come in. Their office wasn't so far from us. They used to come in and do their programs. One time, I think before they went on live, they were really like fighting, like uncomfortably fighting with each other. And we're all just like, what the hell's going on? And then they looked at us, we're like, we're married. And we're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense now. Yeah. So we really appreciated that.
So you mentioned books you've read over and over. I'm going to plug your book in, The Fast Forward Mindset. I have that on audio, and I have that as a Kindle book, and I keep coming back to it. It's really helpful. I like your vulnerability. Vulnerability is my favorite thing there, because when I think of you, David, I think of someone who's very successful. But it's like you take the curtain away, and you show us, the internal monologue, the difficulties you've had, and that's incredible. That's very powerful.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think, I don't remember. So we had, let's talk about that for a second, and let's circle back to sort of as we connected what we were talking about, and that was about Daniel Reiter's, I think it's how you pronounce it, his CLE course in estate planning, where you wanted to repost about it. And I think at one point you saw, or I shared, that I had the book, The Fast Forward Mindset, and it is something I'm so passionate about, because I wrote the book for myself to create a framework for the next 20 years. And it's what helped me. It's what helps me in everything from doing this podcast, to moving to Barcelona, to being president of Entrepreneurs Organization, to running Lawline. And yeah, I think vulnerability is the new currency of authenticity. I don't know, that was a lot of words, but I think if you're humble, but you're also you're being real. And I think that's how people learn, by seeing that anyone you think has it figured out is struggling somewhere, because in order to get to where they want to be, they had to get out of their comfort zone. And if they tell you they're not struggling, I don't know. I don't believe it. So I appreciate that. And I think that's something you also, you had said in our conversations, you read once and you came back to a couple times. And so that just makes me smile. And I moved to Barcelona and I came back here. I'm actually speaking a lot more about the fast forward mindset because it's evergreen. It's something that everybody always knows. All right. So let's go back to
Lawline.
you're a power user at Lawline. You said that, and the way you learn, just so we can kind of, when lawyers who learn, we can say you had said, if Lawline doesn't have a course on it, I don't know if I want to get into that area because I need to get the confidence to understand, even to have a conversation with an attorney. And you've started watching dozens and dozens and hundreds of courses, or even starting and then rewatching those courses. One of the courses that you watched, and I don't have the title in front of me right now. I don't know if you do.
I do. But before we get to that course,
Yeah.
can I just tell you, so strategies with Lawline, in the old days, I used to record some of the talks, so you don't even have the full data of how many times I've listened to something. I used to also sit there and transcribe it. And this was in the early days. And now you guys have transcriptions right there. It saves a lot of time, I gotta tell you.
Well, I appreciate that. And that was a passion project of mine, because we have, up until a couple of years ago, we were actually paying a company to do the transcriptions. And now we use AI, and maybe there's a couple of mistakes here or there, but the transcriptions has opened up a whole area of what my true passion is just-in-time learning. And that's why I put the slides on the left-hand side, so you can see what's coming up. That's why I enabled people to fast forward and disable tracking if they really want to get to a point of information. That's why the transcripts are, and that's why the AI learning assistant is now on the site, where you can ask any question to any course or to all the courses and get the answer and the tag to the point in the video where it came from. Because at the end of the day, I just wish there was a magic button you can hit, and this is essentially ChatGPT, but imagine all 2,000 courses on Lawline. You can have that knowledge at your fingertips without having to watch the full course, at least to get that started. And so that's really what drives me, and my constant focus.
And I think your AI learning tool has gone a long way to do this, where you can ask it questions. It takes you to a specific location in a video, where you can even click on it, and it's very useful when the information is there.
Absolutely. So, all right, you were sharing something, yeah.
And it's good in two ways, if I may. It's good in reviewing a course that you have watched already and learned from, and it's good for knowing that other courses are available.
Absolutely. So you can do it on both on the catalog, where you can see what's available, as well as essentially have a conversation with the course. Absolutely. And that's the other thing. And I think I was sharing this to you before we started. I learn by asking questions. Not everybody does, but I think that's being curious, asking questions is because you're controlling it. You're not just sitting passively and listening. And so what the AI learning assistant allows somebody to do is watch a course while the course is going on. If somebody talks about, a specific thing in estate planning that you're unsure about, at that moment, you can ask it questions to clarify as the course is happening. And so that was the intention.
I learned the same way. So we're kindred spirits.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always say I have more questions than I have answers.
I think that's, I don't know. I'm sure there's a wise person's quote on that. Somebody, curiosity is, sort of what it is. I love, the quote. I think it's live as you're dying tomorrow, learn as if you're living forever. Something to that degree. I think it's actually a Gandhi quote. But all right, so let's go to, you reached out to me.
So I reached out to you, and I do a few minutes before we jumped on, I had shared with you this long PDF. If you go to page 42,
I'm not doing it right now. I'll listen to you.
Okay, you'll listen to me because on page 42 is why I reached out to you. Record confirmatory deed for specific device, New York, suggests Daniel Ryder or Ritter in Lawline CLE.
Right. So you watched a course, and in the course there is a mention of something called a confirmatory deed, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's something you had never heard before. It's something as a lot of you started asking other attorneys who never heard before, and you double checked and triple checked to make sure it made sense and it was correct, and you found that it was, and you felt that it was your obligation as an estate planning attorney, and you're a writer and you have a great blog on that area. You wanted to share that because not everybody is going to watch that course and do that. And so you reached out to first the customer service to see if that can be done. I love it. Your dog's head just popped in the background. Amazing.
Yeah, he's German Shepherd mix. He's
so quiet. That's amazing.
We got him knowing he's deaf.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you reached out to customer service and they essentially said, no, we can't really help you kind of if you want to repost it. Then you just said, you know what, I'm going to reach out to the CEO of Lawline. And I loved what you said. And I loved how you did. And you already created a clip. You already did everything. You said, I'm not putting this live, but this is how I want to share it. I think it's a win-win for getting the word out for Lawline, for everybody. And then you posted it. And what was the feedback you got from the community?
I mean, the feedback is, I'm still getting the feedback. This is a concept that's really, it was new to me and it's still new to a lot of people. So the general practice in New York it seems to be customary, and it's only customary from people who do it customarily, because there's clearly a different way, arguably a better way to record something in the chain of title for a specific device. And Daniel talks about this. It's a confirmatory deed. I had never heard about that before. And once I heard about this, I was moved. And I not only did I share it on my blog in the New York State Bar Association listserv, I've been sharing it. The use of the confirmatory deed, it's not, and
you don't have to get into the actual specifics of the confirmatory deed. But the point was, but you can if you want to. I want to, like, to me, the point of this was how you learn. And the way you learned here is you watched a course and then you created an article about the course. You take a clip from the course that you really liked and you shared it with others. And then you had conversations with others about that. And so it goes to what you said from the beginning. You don't just watch it passively. You share it. And like, I can relate. That's what a podcast is in a way. So am I characterizing that correctly? And is there other areas or examples of either courses or other things where you've learned something and you've taken that information and tried to re-synergize it or reshare it, either through your blog or in other places?
I think that's a great way to explain how I write. It's
awesome.
I've referred to it as curation, if you will. So a challenge lawyers have is there is a lot of information out there, but it's not organized in one place. So law isn't found in one area. I can't go right now there are great treatises out there, but they're not even comprehensive. They might not even mention a confirmatory deed. They might not. So when you find this information that's really useful, that is profound, yeah, I like to collect it and then I like to share it. And sharing it is not, it's part spreading the message, and it's part asking others. It's almost like a question. Hey guys, what do you think about this? How come I never heard about this before? Have you guys heard about this? So initially on the New York State Bar Association listserv, I was there just asking questions. And over the years, since that blog post came out, and it came out in, let me give you the date, 2023, October 2023. Since that came out, I'm now confident that this is the best tool. When I first posted it, I was like, this is a great idea, but now I'm confident that it's the best tool. But that was through lots of conversation, communication, challenging others who use the executor's deed instead of a confirmatory deed, and ask them, why do you guys do it? What's your authority? What law can you point me to? Yeah.
That leads me to something that we think about a lot at Lawline, because and as we're focused on our planning for next year and beyond, informally, I've seen this a lot. And let me ask you this. Have you ever actually reached out to a faculty member from Lawline and connected with him or her afterwards in a mentorship capacity, in a peer capacity, in some form?
Um, Reached out, yes. Mentorship capacity, I should probably do that. But I reached out to Dan actually afterwards. I'm like, how did you learn about this? I can't find any information about this. And he said in a succinct email that he learned about it from somebody he worked with.
Got it.
So
Awesome.
I do reach out when I'm curious about ideas like that. Like, how did you get this? Because there's, it's profound. But mentoring is a good idea too.
Well, one of the things that we think about is with the pace that things are changing in law and technology right now. And I think you're even saying in here, on-demand learning can only get you so far. And so what you've done is, right, you've taken a course, you've not just watched it once. You're not, like you said, you've watched it many times. You've screen shared, recorded it, you've written about it. And so one of the things that we're interested in exploring more, and actually a couple things, one relates to you too as well, is opening up something called like faculty hours. Imagine Bart Pacey, anybody who's watched one of his courses, if he does once a quarter or whatever it is, or his son, where, there's an hour and it's essentially just, you go on a Zoom and maybe there's 20 people max in it. And it's just people submit questions ahead of time or during, and you just have a conversation. People asking questions. I'm curious, your thoughts on that and your first impressions. And I know you any quick first impressions of things that you would add or improve on that basic idea.
Faculty hours, I think that's a great idea. My questions for you is, how would you motivate the faculty to do it? And what would that mean for pricing for your customers?
All good questions. And, we've reached out to a couple of faculty because that was my same question to them. And at least the few that we've reached out to, they're like, I would love to do this. Like it's a thought leadership to the next level. It's communicating. It's getting, every time you have obviously if it's once a week, it's different, but if it's once a quarter or something like that, it's no much more time and energy than actually teaching a course. In fact, it's a lot easier because you're just getting on answering questions. So it's, I think it's an extension of people like me and you who love to share and give value. In terms of a price point or how that could work, it's all good questions. There's two components to it. Everything that you add takes time and energy on both ends. And also there's an accountability factor that how to do it. So I don't know either of those answers. My first question is, does it provide value, both for the learners and for the faculty members? And is it worth experimenting on? So that's one area. The second thing, is mentorship and coaching. One of the things that we're looking to roll out internally or externally, based on sort of what we've built internally and what we see from courses, is actually doing coaching one-on-one and coaching groups based on certain topic areas. And I know you have shared with me in our conversations, you participate in study groups. And I would love to better understand if you could share how you learn through study groups and what that has done for you.
Okay, so the study groups, I will connect you with the study group leader. She's eager to talk to you about it as well. The study group started around the start of COVID, and we meet via Zoom, and there's no CLE credit. It's just a bunch of trust and estates lawyer. They can ask questions. There's sometimes presentations as well. And, it's just pretty much similar to faculty. So it's not like faculty hours because you just don't have one person. You have a bunch of
Right, it's
people
peer to peer.
knowledgeable. And what's great about that is you realize that not everybody, people don't know everything, and that's okay. And the comfort with that, to me, is I can't begin to tell you. And then the confidence to ask questions. I remember when I first went to the study group, I used to send Linda Marianov a private message saying, can you ask this for me? And then later on, I was like, okay, I'm getting the confidence to ask these myself. And then expressing myself, hey guys, I have something I do know something about. That's great. It's such a great confidence.
How often do you meet right now?
It's almost bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly, and it's over Zoom.
It's over Zoom.
How many people are in it?
Oh, so it depends. It's everybody's invited. They do not have to be a bar association member.
How many in general? How many people show up each time?
For an open mic, about 50 to 60.
And so it's 60 people on a Zoom. And how do you control with 60 people on there, not everybody talking at once, or who asks questions when, or who talks when?
So I think the way Linda does it is to first come, like first asked questions. So as people can ask their questions, she goes through them in the order they're asked.
Oh, so they do it through chat, the questions.
The chat, or you could, yeah, usually it's through chat, but you can also send her a direct message, and people come in, and we jump in at different times. She doesn't have you raise your hand.
And nobody is like interrupting and say, here's a question I have. The format is you have to either message her or chat her the question versus verbally say it.
People can jump in. I think I would love for you to talk to Linda, and you can ask her.
I'm fascinated by it.
She's amazing at how she moderates this. I can't say enough good things about her. And about my colleagues too. These generous colleagues who take their time we want to talk about mentorship and coaching. I don't want to name names because there's so many good ones that to identify only one or two, I'd feel bad about the ones I left out. Early on, prior to the study group, one of the biggest challenges I've had was meeting nice lawyers. And I hate to say it that way, but meeting nice lawyers who are also generous with their time. Through the study group, I've met many nice lawyers. They're very generous with their time. And, it's a way people are connecting. We're connecting outside the study group. I've also been getting business from lawyers through the study group who hire me to right now research. So I research really complicated issues.
I get it. They hear how you talk and how you think, and they say, here's a guy I could use his help more than just this conversation. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
What is there anything that
but let's connect these two. So let's connect some of the ideas. So one of the things I believe one of your other speakers spoke about learning through participating in the bar association.
Correct.
So we have here the idea of a study group, which is not related to the bar association. But a lot of lawyers who are in the bar association do show up there. So contributing on the listserv is great, but one thing I did starting maybe a year or so ago is participating in the committees and subcommittees in the group. Now, let's connect those two ideas. Lawline has a course, a recent one by a lawyer, Sherman Cooper, The Evolution of Interim Clauses in New York and Their Impact on Estate and Trust Litigation. Okay, now I'm volunteering for the New York State Bar Association. It's a subcommittee. They are considering revising New York's law on interim clauses to cover lifetime trusts. So I have this course. I listen to it over and over when I can. I'm driving the car. I am cooking something. I'm in the kitchen. I am going to get my kids. This course is on my favorites because I like hearing information again and again. It's not just reading the cases. And when you go back to the cases, you're like, oh yeah, I remember Eileen said something about this. This is a very helpful course. And this is how Lawline is helping me now contribute and connect with other attorneys on the subcommittee to change potentially change the law in New York. And that's
fascinating. That is very powerful. What do you think? We talked about faculty hours. What if we help facilitate some form of study groups? We have close to, we have 50,000 subscribers, 100,000, who use us or used us, and we have access to communicating to many more. Do you think that could work if you haven't really known the people ahead of time, or you didn't know the leader of it? Do you think there's a way to do that and scale that? Because again, I'm focused on 2025 and beyond is what are other ways to support attorneys beyond the on-demand course, because things are changing so quickly and you need to communicate and ask questions and talk to your peers and get coaching and mentorship.
Okay, so I have ideas there on how study groups, but let's not call them study groups. There's other terms for them that I use in the technology community. Forums.
Yeah, well, that's what I use as well.
So forums, and there's this one, a forum called Discourse, I believe, that's really good, and you can search through it. But there's also um, lifetime chatting. So one of them is Discord, not Discourse. So that's actually really helpful. And one of the technologies I use, I go on there. I've spoken to people, and the other one, I was trying to get it for you. I don't, look at me. So many technologies, but
Yeah,
there's another one just like Discord for another one of my texts, and the developer is there, and the developer has actually answered questions for me. So this form of learning, I like it because you don't have just one person maybe on the spot answering questions. It's more of a community. It's
yeah,
has
yeah.
knowledge.
And but what about actually a Zoom? Like you're actually with 10 other people having actual conversation, like you said, biweekly. Like, do you think there is a need and a pain point in the broader legal community for more forums? Um,
Absolutely. More forums, more Zooms, more study groups. It
yeah,
will only help. Because you're connecting, you're asking questions, for everything from young lawyers to even more. I still have so many questions. I would love to sit there and say, "Hey, what do you guys think about this?" And I've done that too from people I met through the Linda's study group. We've had breakouts.
yeah.
Uh, Recently, 3 or 4 of us met on a Zoom, if you will. They use a different technology, and we were talking about Medicaid asset protection trusts and all the questions we have there.
Awesome. So we're unfortunately running low on time, and at some point we can do more long form podcast and for 4 hours. And I've gotten so, like, I love everything you were sharing, how you go about it. I know this, we're just touching the tip of the iceberg of how you learn, but I think you've shared really good use cases. Is there anything, before I flip it, if you have any questions for me, is there anything that we didn't cover about how you learn that you wanted to share, or do you think we've covered sort of the main areas for this podcast?
Well, I have just a follow-up idea and then something I'd love to share with everybody. And then we can go to the questions if that's okay.
Okay,
So the
go for it.
follow-up idea on not so there's other technologies you can think about. So we discussed Zoom, we discussed forums, and we discussed live communication technologies. There's a fourth one, and that's brand new, which is creating a virtual environment with different rooms and different areas where different people can go to different tables. And one of the technologies I used, they had a meeting this way. It was so interesting. It was almost like a conference, but done virtually. You could go anywhere with different people, different tables. And once you go there, you could talk to people via chat. And that's a really,
It's almost like a virtual conference.
yes, and it was
Yeah,
great. And that's another way,
yeah,
because
for sure.
maybe open up a virtual conference where people from,
Yep.
different. Okay. So the one idea that I'd like to share with everyone was a mentor of mine. And, I was ready to talk about mentors too and how important they are. This mentor is not a lawyer. He was an economist, and I met him at actually an internship I had. And he said, John Prather Brown in 2009 wrote me an email that said, and this, I live by this every day. He said, "I think you should start writing now. Find a topic and write the outline of what the paper should say, even before you research. This is to find out what is in your own mind before you pollute it with what comes from others. Think by writing, research by writing, finish it up, and edit it down." Profound. I've ever since I've gotten that, I've lived by it. You start by writing, and you start with your own thoughts. And he sent this to me because again, lots of information out there. How do I know where to go? How do I know where to trust? How do I? Okay, so start by what's on my mind, and of course, I had follow-up questions. What if there's nothing on my mind, John? What if I can't even write one thing because I'm completely clueless about this? He said, write that down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer. I journal every day. And when I don't have something to write about, I just write about what I did, which is generally most of what I do. And then sometimes there's things in my mind that I break through. I appreciate that. And that was a really good way. Writing to me has set me free in so many ways and figured out where I am. So in our last few minutes, I wanted to see if there's any questions that you have for me
Yes.
because you said you're always curious. whether we're on law, fast forward mindset, and then yeah, we can.
I've come prepared with questions.
Let's go.
Okay, because I've watched all of your podcasts already, and then literally
how many questions do you have on your list?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, first one. What advice would you give to someone who might want to give a Lawline CLE but doesn't know where to start or is nervous about getting in front of the camera?
Or to teach a Lawline CLE?
Yes.
Well, certainly, obviously, if they're a practicing attorney and they have a specific area of law that they practice, is a good start. I think for me, I'm always better when I'm teaching about a topic that I'm really passionate about and I really want to, or something I want to learn more about myself. Because teaching, I believe, and I've seen it, is the best form of learning. And I would say if it's through Lawline, and let's say it's estate planning, we have a lot of courses on there as an example. And if you're looking to be different and unique, see what's there and what's not. And of course, there's this new tool you might have heard of called ChatGPT, and there's a lot of different models out there. You can mess around there and come up with a bunch of different interesting and unique topics, not only the topics, but the outline of the course and what that is, and the slides and everything you want to do from there. So that's one start.
Let me hit you with a follow-up question very quick. So you mentioned mentoring. So if somebody is struggling to get started and they're really passionate about something, can they reach out to somebody at Lawline and say, hey, how do I begin putting together the slides?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a whole team, a learning solutions team. Everybody on that team who works with attorneys is an attorney themselves. So generally, it's interesting because we have more attorneys who want to teach on Lawline than we have bandwidth to do that with, because there's just a lot of attorney. It's people like sharing and want to give back and have a value. So one of the things is kind of working with them and figuring out the topic. But absolutely, I would say reach out to me, David at lawline.com. This is my podcast. I'll say it, and my information's there, and I'll put you in touch with the right person for sure. And that goes for you as well.
Okay, next question. So 2 out of 4. Yeah. What do we do if we believe that presenter made a mistake in stating the law in the Lawline CLE?
Great question. So one of the things that we've done, and this was implemented a long time ago, is every day. So there's course comments that when you complete a course, you can write a comment. Every day we get a digest of all the comments that were given the day before. And every course has the comments on there. And many times that's how we found mistakes, because when you start seeing not just 1, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 comments, like the law has changed, we use that as a way to update it and move on that. And one of the things that we're working on right now is, because there's so many courses and so many people completing courses, we're looking to use AI to help find the themes of things that change based on the comments that are have. And then of course, what a lot of the customers as well do, you can just email support@lawline.com or call the number on the site and let them know. And we're usually pretty responsive. And I have a feeling there's probably a course that you're thinking about. And so yes. I would definitely share it. Obviously you can share with me too, but I would put you in touch with the right person.
Okay. And then follow-up question there. Assuming that it's confirmed that the information might be unreliable, would you go and update your AI so it doesn't point out? So just maybe to say maybe this has been questioned. Is that something you have planned, or that's in?
We would probably, in a short amount, depending on how off the whole course is, we either work with the faculty member to update the course or actually take it down if it's completely changed. And then of course it wouldn't be in the AI anymore as a result. And if it's just a small part of the course, it's a good question, but that's also why on the AI, if to use it, there's a big disclaimer that this is AI. This is not legal advice. Do not take any of this. And same thing for a CLE course on our terms and conditions. This is not legal advice. Not everything's always 100% correct. And you have 2,000 courses, things will change all the time, but we do the best that we can. But I certainly would love to know the course. You can send it to us afterwards.
And it's not the whole course. It's just a
Yeah,
small
exactly.
question in the whole course that comes maybe at the end. So
Yeah.
yeah, and AI, just to say about your AI versus like general AI, what I like about your AI is it has you've built it on your own data set, which makes it more accurate than the general generic AI. But of course, there's always room for error. Again, human error, and then AI
Hallucinations.
introduced
Yeah.
error. Yeah, but
Yep.
that's been the goal of mine, and we'll discuss it some other time, I hope, where we talk about building your own data sets.
Absolutely.
Third question is it's a selfish one, if I may, since I have you. Can I get your permission to develop more snippets from Lawline videos? And if so, would you like me to get your team's approval of the draft blog post before I hit publish?
So you're saying snippets of the actual videos, or
Yes.
I would.
Or of the information, or of a slide. If I find something really, really helpful, again, like Daniel's confirmatory deed one.
Yeah. Look, I think you. I personally have no problem with it. I
Okay.
assume it should be fine, but I would say if you could, at least until we figure out like a better way to go about it, just give. I'll give you somebody's email, and if you connect
Mhm.
because you've proven that you have good quality writing and you really care. Is just give them a heads up that it's going on there. This way we can help promote it too, and just know that
Mhm.
it's out there. And just in case, like you said, if you said something that was incorrect, which I doubt you would, just making sure there. So yeah, if you want to
Oh,
help Lawline in our content, I'm all for it.
follow-up comment. If I ever say anything incorrect, this goes to anybody listening to this. It's okay. Just let me know. I'm open to that. My sister, who's a year older, is brilliant. I grew up always losing in arguments to her. I'm comfortable with being incorrect. So
For
I'm here
sure.
to learn. And you say lawyers who learn. I'm okay. As long, as we're engaging in the conversation, somebody just say, no, you're wrong. No, no, give me your proof. Let's discuss it. And I'm happy.
I love it. I love it.
Next question is for you personally. Are you planning a follow-up to Fast Forward Mindset, maybe a book with lessons from the Lawyer Who Learned podcast?
I have this vision, a crazy vision to write 18 books in my lifetime. And they don't have to all be amazing books, and they can be shorter books. And so I'm looking for different areas. And the reason I created that vision, and I haven't really, that was a long time ago, and I only have published one, but I'm still got a lot of time. And my second book is almost there, is the purpose of writing a book is twofold. It forces me to understand a topic, to organize that topic, to communicate it effectively. And there's a lot of things I want to learn and put out there. So I think that's really cool. Like I think, I think my second book that's coming out, which is called Barcelona Bound: Tales from an Expat Family Diary, is essentially what you can do with the fast forward mindset, and how you can become closer with your kids, how you can move to another country, how you can live there, and how you have the courage to do that, and kind of going through that process. So absolutely is my goal, and I need to fast forward my ability to do that as well.
No, I think so. The next comment is going to go to you, David. I have a comment at the end, and then leave it to you. I just want to thank you. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do for lawyers, for entrepreneurs through Lawline. Your book, you have presentations, you have podcasts, you have writing on. You're very active on LinkedIn, and anybody who follows you will just get gems of wisdom and insight, and then mentorship, both direct and by example. So I
Well,
consider the podcasting like by example.
I really appreciate that. It means a lot to hear that. And I'll tell you a secret, and I shared this with somebody else, and he took it and ran with it. I treat LinkedIn like my journal. I just write what I'm thinking about, and I don't get overly focused on how many people will care, how many people will like. Obviously, I like when they do, because that reinforces a good post or reinforces more people seeing it. But if I always was thinking too much about that, I wouldn't write enough. So I set a goal to try to write once a day. I don't always get there, but I try to focus on not breaking that chain. So I appreciate that. I'll ask you one last question, and
Sure.
then we will go. Is if you had to name this podcast, title it, you know, I titled them "Learning Through Something." What is the first things that come to your mind on how you would share, like, learning through X, learning through, whatever this is, to to not only showcase this but to make people interested and excited to like want to understand it. And that's a tough question. So if you don't have the answer, that's okay too. But I always am curious.
Unfortunately, I have the answer, and we didn't get into all of it into depth. Like the PDF I shared before we got on here, which maybe we'll make it available as an edited version of it. Maybe learning through the 3 C's, which is curiosity, creation, and connection. So curiosity is everything from asking questions to one of my favorite things from your book, No Labels, good thing, bad thing, who knows? It ends with a question. Beautiful. Curiosity, creation. So we create, the PDF talks about blogging as a form of creation and connection. And I gave actually Lawline as a case study of the 3 C's. And I think this is what we've been talking about right now.
Curiosity, creation, and connection.
Yes.
Did you just make that up as you're creating this, or is that something you've been working with for a long time?
No, I made it up this morning as I was working through this, because I had the idea of putting together how we met and different, and then it started gelling. First, it was called something that one of the headlines was tech, and I modified that, and then I went to ChatGPT and said, okay, verbs, nouns, like I want some alliteration here. What do I do? And so I refined it there, and there's a screen capture of that. So instead of tech, I said crafting with computers, and we've spoken about that a little bit using.
And I don't need to know the process, but what I would love about this, and this exactly is a perfect way to end, by getting on it, by saying yes to an interview, by saying yes to teaching something, by saying yes to writing something, it forces you, and knowing it's coming, to communicate clearly your beliefs and how you do things. And I love that, learning through creating, connecting, and curiosity. Or curiosity I would put first. Curiosity, creating, and connecting. Yeah, no, those 3 things. Perfect. Yeah. Sold. I will make that PDF available, so change it however you want it. Okay. If you think it's good now, that's fine with me.
No, I'd like it revising.
So revise it a little bit, and I'll put it as a link in the show notes.
Sure.
So awesome.
Yeah. Curiosity is first, because we're going to start with the questions, and again with writing down what's in your head, and then before you go on the discovery quest. Creation is blogging, podcasting, teaching a Lawline CLE, anything like that. And connection is exactly what we're doing. And I really do. I don't go into it here. I do see like a loop. It's a feedback. So our conversation today, I took some quick notes. Again, lead to more ideas, and that's how this happens.
Perfect. Well, what is the next? Do you have any Lawline courses on your radar of what you want to take next to learn?
My goodness, I sent you a LinkedIn message. You have over 80 courses on artificial intelligence on Lawline. Are you here to make me like the most happy and excited person on the planet? Because I already watched over like a dozen, I believe, and now you have over 80.
So over a year ago, we decided to make it a real focus of ours. And I'm happy to share, we're actually going to be launching next year a full AI hub. Wow. That will take things to the next level. So look, things are changing so quickly. We need to support attorneys in how they do that. And so there'll be a lot of resources, not just from CLE courses, but actually other things that are not for credit to help you in your where you are. So I'm glad to hear that you're seeing the value there.
So not one course, is over 80 courses now on my
and I keep putting on my list. I'm like, I want to watch all of our courses too, but it's tough to find the time. Hani, thank you so much. Really appreciated everything. And I we'll continue this conversation, and I'm looking forward for everyone to listen and learn.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.